A conversation with my son at 57, realizing that one shouldn't be a nitpicker in old age. I had a conversation with my son when I was 57 years old that led me to an important realization: as one ages, one should never be a nitpicker. After retiring and spending time at home, I sometimes wanted to chat with my daughter, but she was often unwilling to talk to me. Each time, I would feel very upset. Clearly, I was thinking of her best interests, yet she would treat me with indifference. A few days ago, during a conversation with my spouse, I suddenly understood a key principle: one should avoid being a nitpicker in old age. I finally realized why my daughter had been reluctant to speak with me. I am now 57 years old and have been retired for 2 years. Before retirement, I served as the deputy director at my workplace and had become accustomed to having others listen to me. I have 2 children, a son and a daughter. My son, since childhood, was always willing to listen to me and performed well academically. He got married and had children early on. My son and daughter-in-law have respectable jobs, and I never had to worry about them. However, my younger daughter has been different since childhood. Now at 31, she still hasn't found a partner, and I worry for her. Recently, while reminding her about finding a boyfriend, she became impatient after just a couple of comments. She said, "Mom, can you not nag so much?" We have a colleague in the office who is already 35. His mom never bothers him or pushes him. What era are we living in? You're still so old-fashioned. She pointed out that the girl she mentioned had better prospects than I did, graduating from a 211 university. Her parents have generous pensions. It's not that she doesn't want to date, she just has high standards and believes that if she can't find the right person, it's better not to marry at all. Upon hearing this from my daughter, I didn't take it well. Before she could finish, I interjected, saying that no matter how good the conditions, being 35 and still unmarried poses challenges. Look, your sister-in-law already has 2 kids at that age. To my surprise, my daughter stormed out, leaving me with the parting shot, "Mom, I can't be bothered to talk to you, you really know how to nitpick." Fuming, I called my son to explain the situation, hoping for some comfort. To my shock, he said, "Mom, you actually are quite a nitpicker. You always want people to listen to you." He pointed out, "Look at Dad, he's not like that. No matter who he talks to, he goes along with them. But you always need to find a viewpoint to convince others. It always has to be your way. That's why my sister doesn't talk to you," he explained. "Do you not like talking to me either?" I asked. My son didn't hesitate and replied, "I like listening to you nitpick." His comment made me suddenly realize the truth. In that moment, I understood why both my daughter and my spouse were unwilling to chat with me. I remembered my time at work before retiring, why many people didn't want to listen to me, often putting on a facade while acting differently behind my back. I started to reflect on why I had poor social relations. In the past, I always considered myself a leader. I would confront subordinates about minor issues that didn't align with my views. I often didn't give face to my superiors during disagreements and would argue heatedly with colleagues. There were too many such instances. After so many years of marriage, I had always prioritized my own perspective when communicating with my spouse. Despite my good intentions for the family, I often ended up feeling unappreciated and unwelcome. Since my youth, I've taken my responsibilities seriously, always speaking the truth. However, this straightforwardness has offended many, especially the younger generation. We no longer live in an era where good medicine tastes bitter and loyal advice is harsh to the ears. The same applies to family. People are becoming increasingly impatient, unwilling to listen to differing opinions, while I tend to argue my points incessantly, finding it hard to just nod along to things I don't agree with. I told myself that from today onwards, regardless of whom I converse with, family included, I will no longer interfere in their matters as long as my interests aren't at stake. I will stop being the nitpicker they say I am. My spouse suggested that I should dance in the park or travel more often instead of seeking out these frustrations. Now I realize he was right. He is the wise one, while I was too stubborn and serious. Ever since I understood this concept, I've felt much better and more at peace. To remind myself not to interfere with my daughter, I even bought a sign online that says tolerance, which I hung in the living room to constantly remind myself to keep my mouth shut. Previously, whenever there were leftovers at dinner, I would insist my spouse finish them to avoid waste. But now I've realized it's unnecessary to force others. If food cannot be eaten, just throw it in the trash. Whether we live richly or not doesn't hinge on those leftover scraps. Why make family life uncomfortable? Regarding my daughter's relationship status, I have also come to terms with it. As children grow older, they need their independence. The more one meddles, the more resentment it breeds. The same goes for my son and daughter-in-law. I used to urge them to come over for meals every weekend, but now I see it differently. If they want to come, fine. If not, that's okay too. Preparing a feast every time they visit and then cleaning up afterwards often left my spouse and me exhausted. Now that I think back, what was I really after? Here I am, almost 60, finally understanding this. As one ages, one should not argue with anyone, nor should one be a nitpicker in the eyes of children. Everyone has different perspectives and life experiences, not to mention diverse backgrounds. Reflecting on my interactions over the past few decades, I realize how foolish I've been. Therefore, learning to respect others is also a form of self-respect. Learning to keep quiet is a valuable skill. Allowing others to be themselves and allowing myself to be myself is what matters. From now on, I will focus on my own life, living each day joyfully. What do you think? Do you agree with what I've said? Well, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. I hope the content I shared today resonates with you. For those who haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so we can accompany you every day. Let's grow together, find happiness together, and slowly grow old together. Until next time.